I returned home after 5 long years, and I still felt my hands shaking as I stood at the front door with my bag. I kept telling myself everything would be fine, that I would hear laughter, maybe get hugged, maybe even see tears of happiness. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The moment I entered, everything stopped inside me. Olivia Blake was sitting in the living room. My sister. But she was not alone. Daniel Cross was sitting right next to her like he belonged there. I froze. Olivia, what is he doing here? She looked at me calmly, almost like my pain didn't matter. He is my friend Ethan. Friend? I repeated, my voice sharp. After everything? Daniel stood up slowly, a faint smile on his face. Long time, Ethan. My fists tightened. Get out. Before things could explode, Mrs. Laura Blake rushed in. Ethan, don't start this again. Again? I turned toward her. So you all knew he would be here before I arrived? No one answered. That silence told me everything I needed to know. Something inside my chest cracked. I had come home expecting love, but I found betrayal sitting in my own living room. Olivia finally stood. You don't understand anything anymore. I laughed bitterly. Then explain it. Why is Daniel Cross sitting in my house like he owns it? Daniel lifted his hands slightly. Maybe because I do belong here now. Those words burned through me. I stepped closer. You don't belong anywhere near my family. My mother grabbed my arm. Ethan, stop this. Please. I pulled away. Stop what? Asking the truth? Tell me why he is here after everything he did. Olivia's voice rose. Because he changed. People change, Ethan. Not him, I snapped. Not Daniel Cross. Daniel's expression stayed calm. You still hate me that much? I stared at him. Hate is too small a word. The room went quiet again, but my mind was screaming louder than ever. I realized I hadn't come back home. I had walked into a place where I no longer belonged. Mrs. Laura Blake sighed. Ethan, you left this house for 5 years. Things changed while you were gone. I shook my head. Not this. Not him sitting here like family. Olivia crossed her arms. You were never here when we needed you. That sentence hit harder than anything else. I looked at her. So that's it? You replaced me with him? That's not what happened, she said quickly. Then what happened? I asked. Tell me, Olivia. Tell me why my sister is defending the man I hate the most. Daniel stepped forward again. Maybe because she finally sees the truth. I pointed at him. You stay out of this. Mrs. Laura Blake raised her voice. Enough. The room froze again. She looked at me. Ethan, this house is falling apart because of your anger. I whispered, no. It's falling apart because of him. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in my old room staring at the ceiling fan turning slowly above me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Olivia sitting beside Daniel. One question kept repeating inside my head. Why is my sister standing with him? I got up from bed and walked to the window, watching the dark street outside. The house felt different now, like it no longer welcomed me. I whispered to myself, what happened while I was gone? A knock came at the door. I turned quickly. It was Olivia. She didn't step inside right away. Ethan, we need to talk. I crossed my arms. Talk? You had 5 years. She sighed. You don't know the full story. I laughed softly. Then start telling it. She looked down for a moment. Daniel helped us when you weren't here. My jaw tightened. Helped you? Yes, she said. When things got hard, he stayed. I shook my head. So that's it? Loyalty replaces truth. It's not that simple, she whispered. I stepped closer to the door. For me it is. Olivia's eyes filled with frustration. You always think in black and white. And you always defend him, I replied. Silence stretched between us. Then I said quietly, I didn't come back to fight, Olivia. I came back to my family. She looked at me, but her eyes felt distant. Maybe you don't belong here anymore. Those words hit harder than anything before. I closed the door slowly, my hands trembling again. Inside my head, the same question returned louder than ever. Why is she choosing him over me? I leaned against the wall after closing the door, feeling my breath get heavier. I tried to remember the home I left 5 years ago, but it felt like it belonged to someone else now. I whispered, was I really gone that long? Olivia's footsteps faded down the hallway, but her last words kept echoing in my mind. Maybe you don't belong here anymore. I clenched my fist. No, I said to myself. Something is wrong here, and I will find out what it is. And for the first time since returning, I felt not just hurt, but determined to uncover the truth behind Daniel Cross and my family. no matter what happens. I woke up the next morning expecting someone to finally talk about what happened, but the house felt too calm, too controlled, like everyone had agreed on silence. I walked into the kitchen and saw Olivia and my mother moving around like nothing was wrong. "Morning," I said, watching their faces closely. Olivia glanced at me. "Morning." My mother added, "Sit down and eat." I frowned. "That's it? No one is going to talk about yesterday?" Olivia sighed. "Ethan, please don't start." "Start what?" I stepped closer. I came back after 5 years and found Daniel Cross sitting in our living room like family. My mother shook her head. "You're imagining things." "I'm imagining?" I laughed sharply. "So I'm the problem now?" Olivia avoided my gaze again. "You don't understand anything yet." "That sentence again," I said bitterly. "Why does no one ever explain anything to me?" Silence answered me. I grabbed my phone. "Fine. I'll ask someone who doesn't avoid me." I walked outside and dialed James Carter. "Ethan," he answered. "I knew you would call." "Tell me what's going on," I said immediately. "Why is Daniel Cross involved with my family?" James hesitated. "You came back at the wrong time." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Stop saying that. Explain it." James lowered his voice. "Daniel Cross isn't the same anymore, or maybe he's worse than before." My chest tightened. "Everyone keeps saying that, but no one tells me anything real." "Because it's dangerous to talk," James replied. "Just watch your back." "Watch my back from who?" I asked, but he didn't answer clearly. The call ended with more questions than answers. I stood there a long moment, staring at the road, feeling like I didn't belong in my own home anymore. That night, I noticed Olivia leaving quietly through the back door. I followed her without thinking. She walked fast until she reached the old streetlight near the corner. Daniel Cross was already there. I hid behind a wall, my heart racing. "I told you he feels something is wrong," Olivia whispered. Daniel replied calmly, "He doesn't know anything yet." I froze. "What don't I know?" I whispered to myself. Olivia looked nervous. "We must not let Ethan know the truth." Those words stopped my breathing. "What truth?" I almost stepped forward but held myself back. Daniel's voice was cold. "If he finds out now, everything we built falls apart." Olivia nodded slowly. "Then we keep it hidden a little longer." My hands started shaking behind the wall. I felt like my own sister was standing on the other side of my life. I stepped back carefully, trying not to make a sound. I walked home in silence, every step heavier than the last. When I reached my room, I closed the door and leaned against it. "They're lying to me," I whispered. "All of them." I sat on the bed, staring at my shaking hands. "Why are you doing this to me?" I said out loud, even though no one answered. I stood up suddenly. "No more waiting." I clenched my fist. "If there's a truth, I will find it myself." I looked at the dark window. "No matter what it costs me." The house felt different now, like it was hiding its breath from me. And for the first time since I came back, I wasn't just confused. I was ready to uncover everything. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Olivia standing beside Daniel, whispering like I didn't exist anymore. I kept turning in bed, trying to push the thoughts away, but they kept coming back louder. I got up and walked to the window. The street outside was empty, but my mind was not. "What are you hiding from me?" I whispered again, gripping the curtain tightly. A sudden knock came at my door. My body stiffened. "Who is it?" I asked. No answer. I opened the door slowly. No one was there. Only silence. I stepped back, breathing heavily. "They're watching me, or I'm losing my mind," I muttered. I closed the door and locked it this time. "Enough," I said firmly. "Tomorrow I will follow every clue." I lay back down, but this time I didn't close my eyes peacefully. I stayed awake, listening to every small sound in the house. And in that silence, I made my final decision. I will not trust anyone until I know the truth myself. Morning came slowly, but I didn't feel rested at all. I heard footsteps outside my room and immediately opened my eyes. Olivia's voice came from the hallway. "Ethan, are you awake?" I didn't answer at first, then said, "What do you want?" Pause. "Breakfast is ready." I sat up. "Tell me something first." She hesitated. "About what?" "About the truth," I said firmly. "The one you don't want me to know." Silence followed again. I stood up and opened the door slightly. "I'm done waiting, Olivia." She looked at me unsure. "You're not ready for it." I replied, "I'll decide that myself." I closed the door again, knowing everything was about to change. and I walked away before she could say anything else today at all. I met James again the next day in a small cafe near the old station. He didn't even smile when he saw me. "You look worse than yesterday," he said. "I don't need concern. I need answers," I replied. He sighed. "Sit down, Ethan." I sat but leaned forward. "Start talking." James rubbed his face. "Fine. But you won't like it." "I already don't like anything," I said. He lowered his voice. "Years ago, Daniel wasn't just your friend. He was your business partner." I froze. "No. That's not possible." "It is," James said. "You trusted him completely." I shook my head. "I never trusted him." James looked at me. "You did. Until he destroyed you." My chest tightened. "What did he do?" "He betrayed you in a deal. Took your project, your investors, everything collapsed." I felt my fingers curl. "That's a lie." James continued. "You lost your job, your reputation. That's why you left the city." I stood up slightly. "Why didn't I remember this?" James said quietly, "Because you tried to forget it." Silence sat between us. Then I whispered, "And Olivia? What does she have to do with him?" James hesitated. "That part. I don't know everything." I leaned in. "Then find out." He shook his head. "Be careful, Ethan. Daniel is still dangerous." I left the cafe with my head spinning. The words kept repeating in my mind: betrayal, lost everything, Daniel Cross. That night I went back home earlier than usual. The house was quiet. I walked past the hallway and noticed Olivia's door slightly open. I pushed it gently. "Olivia?" I called. No answer. I stepped inside. Her room felt normal, too normal. I saw her drawer half closed. Something inside pulled me toward it. I opened it slowly. There was an envelope. My name was not on it, but I recognized the handwriting instantly. Daniel Cross. I opened it. The letter read, "I did everything for you, Olivia. I will fix everything I broke." My heart stopped. "This is not possible," I whispered. Behind me a voice said, "Ethan?" I turned quickly. Olivia was standing there. "What is this?" I held the letter up. Her eyes filled with tears. "You weren't supposed to see that." "Answer me," I said firmly. She stepped forward. "Please, don't misunderstand." "Misunderstand?" I laughed bitterly. "He destroyed my life." She shouted, "You don't know the full story." I slammed the letter on the table. "Then tell me." She froze. Silence again. "Why are you protecting him?" I asked. She whispered, "Because it's not that simple." My voice dropped. "It never is with you." She looked away. I stepped closer. "You're hiding something from me." Her hand shook. "Ethan, stop." I backed away slowly. "No. Not anymore." I left her room, my mind burning. In the hallway I whispered, "So this is the truth, or part of it?" That night I couldn't sleep again. Everything James said echoed louder now. Daniel didn't just return. He had already been inside my life long before I came back. And Olivia, she was part of it. I clenched my fists in the dark. I will not be the one left in ignorance again. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at the wall, trying to breathe normally, but my thoughts kept breaking apart. "This can't be coincidence," I muttered. I grabbed my phone and called James again. He picked up quickly. "What now?" "I found a letter," I said. "From Daniel, to Olivia." James went silent. "You shouldn't be digging deeper." "It's too late for that," I snapped. "Tell me everything you're hiding." James exhaled. "Ethan, some truths don't fix anything." "I decide that," I said. He hesitated. "There was more than business. Daniel and Olivia, they had contact even before you left." My grip tightened. "How long?" "I don't know exactly," he admitted. "But it wasn't recent." My chest burned. "So she lied to me all these years?" James replied softly, "I think she was protecting something." I ended the call without replying. I stood up and looked at the mirror. Who am I supposed to trust now? My reflection didn't answer. From downstairs I heard footsteps. I slowly opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Olivia was standing near the stairs again. She looked at me. "You're not sleeping." I replied, "Neither are you." She whispered, "Please stop before you get hurt." I shook my head. "I already am." A long silence passed. Then I said, "I'm going to find the truth with or without you." She closed her eyes. "Then I can't stop you anymore." I walked past her, feeling like every step was pulling me deeper into something I couldn't escape. I stopped at the end of the hallway, feeling the weight of everything collapsing inside me. Every secret, every silence, every lie felt connected like threads pulling me into a darker truth. I whispered again, "What did I become in my own home?" There was no answer, only the sound of my breathing and the distant ticking clock. I realized nothing in my life would ever return to how it was before this moment. And I knew I could not turn back from this path anymore now at all. I stopped talking to everyone. My mind was burning. My boss, Mr. Thomas Reed, noticed my condition. "You look like a man ready to destroy himself," he said. Maybe he was right. I went to my office without speaking to anyone. My assistant tried to greet me, but I walked past her. Mr. Thomas Reed called me into his office. "I heard something is wrong with you," he said. "I am fine," I replied. He leaned forward. "You don't look fine." "I don't need concern," I said. "I need answers." He sighed. "Answers won't fix what's broken." "That's not your decision," I said sharply. He studied me. "You are heading toward destruction." "Maybe I already am," I replied. I left his office without waiting for permission. That night, I returned home earlier than usual. The house felt heavier than before. I saw Daniel standing inside again. "What are you doing here again?" I asked. He looked calm. "You already know I am here." "Get out of my house," I said. Olivia rushed in. "Ethan, stop this now." "No," I said. "Not anymore." Daniel raised his hands. "I didn't force my way in." "Then why are you here?" I shouted. Olivia stepped forward. "He came because I asked him." That sentence froze me. "You asked him?" I whispered. She nodded. "Yes." "Why would you do that to me?" I asked. She didn't answer. That silence broke something inside me. I stepped back, breathing heavily. "Tell me the truth," I said. Olivia looked away. Daniel spoke softly. "It is not what you think." "Everything is exactly what I think," I snapped. Olivia whispered. "Please, Ethan." "Don't please me," I said. I grabbed a glass from table and placed it down slowly. "I gave everything for this family," I said. Olivia replied, "And we never asked you to leave." "You never stopped me either," I said. Daniel stepped closer. "You are not seeing clearly." "I see everything," I said. My hands started shaking again. "I can't do this anymore," I said. Olivia stepped forward. "Ethan, please calm down." "Calm down?" I laughed bitterly. Daniel said, "You are losing control." "No," I said. "I am finally seeing clearly." I walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Olivia asked. "Away from lies," I said. Daniel didn't stop me. Olivia cried. "Ethan, don't do this." I paused. "Don't call my name like you still know me," I said. I walked down the street slowly. The night felt heavier than before. "I am not the same anymore," I whispered. I clenched my fists and kept walking. I didn't look back. The sound of their voices faded behind me. But their words stayed inside my head. "I will find every truth myself," I whispered. "No matter how much it destroys me." I kept walking into the dark, leaving everything behind that once defined me. And I felt something break inside me. Not pain, but the version of me that still believed in family and truth. I realized I had been living inside lies long before I came back. And now I was finally stepping out of them. I didn't know what waited ahead, I admitted. But I knew I could never go back to who I was. Not after everything I had seen tonight. I was no longer Ethan Blake they knew. I was something else now. Something colder and more determined. And I would not stop until I uncovered every truth hidden from me. Even if it meant losing everything I still had. I walked forward, I said. And I finally accepted that my life had changed forever and there was no turning back for me now anymore. I started digging deeper the very next day. I couldn't sit still anymore, so I called James. "I need everything you can find on Daniel Cross," I said. James sighed. "You're really not letting this go, are you?" "I can't," I replied. "Not after what I saw." He lowered his voice. "Fine. But this is going to get worse before it gets better." "I'm already past worse," I said. We met in a small parking lot later that evening. James handed me a folder. "This is everything I could pull," he said. "Financial records, old business links, and something strange." "What?" I asked quickly. He pointed at the papers. "Money transfers." I opened the file. My eyes stopped immediately. "From Daniel to Olivia?" I whispered. James nodded. "Regular payments. Not small ones either." My hands tightened. "Why would he pay my sister?" "I don't know," James said. But it's not random. I closed the folder slowly. There's more going on here. James warned me, don't jump to conclusions. I don't have that luxury anymore, I replied. The next day, Mr. Thomas Reed called me into his office again. He looked at me seriously. You're going too deep into something unstable. I'm already in it, I said. He leaned back. Then slow down. Truth doesn't run away. I shook my head. Mine is running. He studied me. What if the truth destroys what's left? I answered without hesitation. Then I'll still face it. He sighed. Just don't lose yourself in it. But I already felt lost. That night, I confronted Olivia again. She stood in the hallway when I came in. We need to talk, I said. She looked tired. About what now? I stepped closer. About Daniel. About the money. Her face changed instantly. You checked, she whispered. Yes, I said. Explain it. She avoided my eyes. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I asked. Silence stretched. Olivia, I said sharply. Stop hiding. Her voice cracked. He's blackmailing me. My breath stopped. Blackmailing you? She nodded slowly. Why? I asked. Her hands trembled. Because of our father. I froze. What does Dad have to do with this? She looked down. Everything. I stepped back. Say it clearly. Tears filled her eyes. Dad did something years ago. Something illegal. Financial crimes. Hidden accounts. My mind went blank. No. Yes, she said. And Daniel found out. I clenched my fist. So he's using that against you? She whispered, against all of us. I shook my head. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice broke. Because you were gone. Because we had to fix it without you. My chest burned. So you chose silence. She cried harder. I was protecting this family. I shouted, by lying to me? She didn't answer. That silence hit harder than anything before. I turned away, pacing. And the money? She hesitated. I was paying him to keep it buried. My voice dropped. You were buying his silence. She nodded. I felt everything collapse inside me. I left the house and sat in my car for hours without moving. My hands stayed on the steering wheel, but I wasn't driving anywhere. Everything I believed kept breaking again and again in my head. My father. My sister. Daniel. None of it was simple anymore. I whispered, so this is what you were protecting? I leaned back and closed my eyes. For the first time, I didn't feel anger immediately. I felt emptiness. Because now I understood the truth. This wasn't betrayal. It was sacrifice buried under years of silence. But even with that realization, something inside me refused to accept Daniel. I can understand them, I whispered. But not him. I opened my eyes again, staring into the dark road ahead. And I knew one thing clearly. The truth was finally rising. But forgiveness was still far away. I went to Inspector William Cole and placed every piece of evidence I had collected on Daniel Cross in front of him. I said, this is everything. I want him exposed. He looked at me carefully. You understand what happens after this? I replied, I already know. I just want truth. He nodded slowly. Then I will proceed. I left his office feeling empty, but also certain. In the following days, I started seeing the collapse happen in real time. News spread fast. James called me. Ethan. Daniel's company is falling apart. I said, good. It's what he deserves. James hesitated. Are you sure? I said, yes. He destroyed my life first. But even as I said it, my voice didn't feel strong. Reports came out. His business partners left him. His name was dragged through investigations. Everything he built started breaking. But then Olivia stopped talking to me. I went to her room. Olivia talked to me. She didn't look at me. There's nothing to say. I said, I did this for us. She raised her voice. No, Ethan. You destroyed everything I was trying to save. I froze. Save? You were protecting him. She whispered, you don't understand. I stepped back. Then explain it. She turned away. I can't. That silence hurt more than anything Daniel ever did. Days later, I sat alone in my room thinking I had done the right thing. But everything felt wrong. James said, you look like you regret it. I replied, I don't regret truth. He said, but what if truth breaks everything? I didn't answer. That night, Daniel came to my house. I opened the door and saw him standing there calmly like nothing had happened. I said, you still have the courage to come here? He smiled faintly. Courage? No. I came to tell you something. I said, I don't want to hear anything from you. He stepped closer. You think you won? I said, you lost. That's enough for me. He shook his head. You just destroyed your own family. I felt my chest tighten. My family was already broken because of you. He replied softly, no. You broke what was left. I stayed silent. He continued, Olivia is not talking to you anymore, right? I didn't respond. He said, that's what I meant. You didn't fix anything. You just burned it down. I clenched my fist. You are the reason everything is like this. He said, maybe. But you chose the match. I wanted to hit him, but I didn't move. He looked at me and said, ask yourself something, Ethan. Did you save justice, or destroy your own people? I said nothing. He turned and walked away. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Olivia's words and Daniel's voice. You destroyed everything I was trying to save. You just destroyed your own family. I sat in silence for hours. For the first time I felt something I didn't want to admit. Maybe I had gone too far. But I also knew I couldn't turn back now. I walked out of my room early in the morning and found James waiting outside my house. He looked serious, almost worried. He said, Ethan, this isn't stopping. It's getting worse. I asked, worse how? He replied, people are talking. Not just about Daniel, about you too. I frowned. About me? He nodded. They say you pushed him into collapse without understanding the full story. I said sharply, I did what was right. James stepped closer. Right doesn't always feel clean. I turned away. I don't care how it feels. He said quietly, but you used to. That line stayed in my head. Later I tried calling Olivia. No answer. Again. No answer. I whispered, she really shut me out. James said, she's hurt. I said, I'm the one who should be hurt. He replied, maybe both of you are. I didn't respond. That evening I went back to Inspector Cole. I said, is it finished? He replied, no. It's just beginning. I froze. What do you mean? He said, there are more connections you don't know yet. I asked, like what? He closed the file slowly. Like why Daniel was really involved with your family. I felt my stomach drop. That's not everything? He said, no. Not even close. I left his office shaken. I whispered to myself, then what have I started? And for the first time since this began, I felt fear instead of certainty. I stood outside the office for a long time, staring at the street without moving. My phone rang once, then stopped. I didn't answer it. I already knew it was James. I whispered, if this is not over, then what is coming next? A message finally came from an unknown number. Stop digging, Ethan. You don't know what you woke up. My breath tightened. Who is this? No reply came. I looked up at the sky and said quietly, if there is more truth buried under this, I will find it. Even if it destroys what's left of me, I thought. And for the first time I understood something clearly. The collapse was not ending, it was expanding into something far darker than I ever imagined. I stood in the rain before anything else made sense that night. Everything had already exploded before I even reached home. My phone kept ringing nonstop, but I didn't answer. I already knew something had changed permanently. When I walked inside, I saw my father, Mr. Richard Blake, sitting in the living room with his head down. Olivia was crying beside him. I stopped at the door. What happened here? No one answered at first. Then my father finally spoke. Ethan, I need to tell you something. I said sharply, say it. He lifted his eyes slowly. Everything you heard, it's true. I froze. You mean Daniel? The blackmail? The money? He nodded. And more than that. Olivia broke down instantly. Please stop him, Dad. I turned to her. Stop him? He already destroyed everything. She cried harder. You don't understand how it started. I stepped closer. Then make me understand. My father stood up slowly. It was my mistake. The words hit harder than anything I expected. I whispered, your mistake? He nodded. Years ago, I made a financial decision that was illegal. I covered it up. I thought it was gone. My hands clenched. And Daniel found it. Yes, he said quietly. I laughed bitterly. So everything, all of this, was built on your mistake? Olivia shouted, it wasn't supposed to come out like this. I turned to her. Then how? When? Never? She stepped forward. We were trying to fix it. I snapped, by lying to me? Silence filled the room again. My father said, Olivia did what she thought was right. I shook my head. Right? She protected a lie. Olivia cried, I protected this family. I shouted back, at the cost of my life? The house felt like it was breaking with every word. Then the door opened. Daniel Cross was brought in by police. I stared at him. So it ends like this? He looked at me calmly, even with handcuffs on. This is not over, he said. I stepped forward. You have nothing left. He smiled faintly. You think this is about me? I said, it always was. He shook his head. No, Ethan. You were just reacting. You never saw the whole picture. I grabbed the bars near him. You destroyed my family. He leaned closer. Your family destroyed itself long before I arrived. The officer pulled him away. But before leaving, Daniel looked at Olivia. You know I did what I had to do. Olivia turned away crying. I stood frozen. The rain outside grew heavier when I finally walked out of the station later that night. Everything felt broken in a way I couldn't describe. My father was silent beside me. Olivia wouldn't even look at me. I said, so this is it? That's the truth. My father replied quietly, yes. I laughed once. And now what? We pretend this fixes everything? Olivia whispered, nothing is fixed. That hurt more than I expected. I walked away from them slowly, stepping into the rain alone. The water soaked my clothes, but I didn't care. I kept walking until the street lights blurred in front of me. My thoughts kept repeating everything. You were never supposed to find out like this. This is not over. I protected this family. I stopped in the middle of the road. My voice broke slightly. What am I supposed to do now? No answer came. For the first time, I wasn't angry anymore. I was empty. I whispered, I didn't want revenge anymore. The words felt heavier than anything before. I just wanted closure. I looked up at the dark sky. Everything I had chased, truth, justice, answers, had left me standing alone. But something inside me still refused to disappear. A small burning feeling I couldn't shut off. I whispered again, I need closure, not destruction. I turned back slowly toward the empty street. And for the first time, I understood the difference between winning and surviving. Because I hadn't won anything. I had only reached the end of everything I once believed in. And still, I knew one thing clearly. This story wasn't truly over yet. Months passed slowly and nothing ever returned to the way it was before. I sat at the dining table one evening when my father, Mr. Richard Blake, spoke quietly. I'm trying to rebuild everything, Ethan. I didn't look up. Trust doesn't rebuild with words. He nodded. I know. My mother barely spoke anymore. She just placed plates on the table and left the room without saying anything. Silence had become her language. I said, this house feels empty even when we're all here. My father replied, because we are not the same people anymore. I stood up. No. Because nothing was ever real the way I believed it was. He didn't answer. Olivia had already left the house weeks earlier. No one really knew where she stayed most of the time. Sometimes I heard her name from James, but I never asked too much. One day I decided to go see her. I stood outside her place and knocked. After a moment, the door opened. She looked at me like she had been expecting me for a long time. You came. I said, you didn't think I would? She gave a small, tired smile. I wasn't sure who you were anymore. I stepped inside slowly. I'm still the same. She shook her head. No. None of us are. We sat in silence for a while. The kind of silence that wasn't empty anymore, just heavy. Finally she said, you were right, about Daniel, about everything. I looked at her. Being right doesn't feel like anything. Her eyes lowered. I still lost everything. I replied quietly, so did I. Another silence followed. This one felt deeper. She whispered, I keep thinking, if we had told you earlier. I interrupted her. Would it have changed anything? She didn't answer. I nodded slowly. That's your answer. She looked away, her voice breaking slightly. I was trying to protect this family. I said, and it still broke. She closed her eyes for a moment. Do you hate me? I paused. No. She looked surprised. Then what do you feel? I answered honestly, nothing clear anymore. That truth hung between us longer than anything else. After a while she said, Daniel is gone now. I replied, I know. She asked softly, does it feel like it's over? I thought for a moment. It feels like it already happened too late. She nodded slowly. That's what I feel too. We sat again without speaking. No anger. No arguments. Just distance that couldn't be repaired. Before leaving, I said, "I didn't come to fix anything." She looked at me. "Then why did you come?" I answered, "To understand if anything is left." She said softly, "And is there?" I shook my head slightly. "I don't know." I left her place without looking back. The street outside felt colder than I remembered. Daniel Cross was gone from all our lives, erased from everything legal and personal, but his shadow still stayed in the way we spoke, the way we avoided each other, the way silence replaced answers. James met me a few days later. He said, "You finally got what you wanted." I replied, "Did I?" He looked at me carefully. "Didn't you?" I said, "I got the truth. Not peace." He sighed. "That's usually how it works." I asked him, "Then what was the point?" He said, "There doesn't always have to be one." That stayed with me longer than I expected. One evening, I walked back to the old house alone. It looked the same from outside, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. I stood there and whispered, "This used to be home." No answer came back. I turned slowly and started walking away. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was leaving something behind. I felt like I had already left it long ago. I stopped at the end of the street and looked back once more. Nothing pulled me back anymore. Not anger. Not love. Not even pain. Just understanding. I whispered, "Truth doesn't give happiness. It only shows you what is real. And reality doesn't always care what you lose." I walked forward without hesitation. Not as someone broken. Not as someone victorious. But as someone who finally understood the full cost of truth. And for the first time in a long time, I accepted that some endings don't heal you. They just teach you how to live after everything is gone.